I'm here with Hal. He's one of the best-selling authors of what is now being widely regarded as one of the most life-changing books ever written. The book is The Miracle Morning, the not-so-obvious secret guaranteed to transform your life before 8 a.m. And get this, it's 350 five-star reviews on Amazon, which puts it in the top 1/10 of 1% of any book ever written in the history of the world. That's pretty incredible. What's even more incredible than that is Hal was almost not even with us. Hal actually died for 6 minutes when he was 20 years old. He was hit head on by a drunk driver at 70 miles an hour, broke 11 bones, and was told by doctors he would never walk again. Well, not only did he walk, he went on to run a 52-mile ultra marathon and became a Hall of Fame business achiever, an international keynote speaker, one of the top success coaches in the world. He's a hip-hop recording artist. He was featured in Chicken Soup for the Soul series, has appeared on radio and TV across the country, and the list goes on and on. He's also one of the top personal development podcasts on iTunes called Achieve Your Goals with Hal Elrod, which has over 100 five-star reviews. As the best-selling author of Miracle Morning, I brought him on today to talk how you can change any or every area of your life by simply changing the way you wake up in the morning. Today, Hal is sharing a different take on his book, Taking Life Head On, and as I told you, Hal will be the keynote speaker at our One Life Fully Lived conference in November. So without further ado, here's Hal Elrod.
All right, I decided to wear my glasses today so I look smarter. But everybody that's tuning in right now, thank you for being here. I'm excited for today, of course, but this One Life Fully Lived event is going to be life-changing. I'm assuming everybody watching is registered. You've got your tickets. You're going. If you're not, I can't urge you. And I don't get paid if you go, but I can't urge you strong enough just based on the lineup, the speakers, and Tim. Putting this event on, I think it's going to be amazing and life-changing, really, really life-changing for everybody there. So that's my plug, if you will, unsolicited. I really encourage you to be there. I'm excited for it. My message today, as Tim mentioned, is a different spin on my first book, Taking Life Head On, which I think I have a copy over here. So Taking Life Head On. This is my first book, Taking Life Head On. And at the event, I'm going to give my signature keynote message that I've given for over a decade called Taking Life Head On, based on that book. And I teach you what I call the ABCs of taking life head on, or another way of saying it, it's really the ABCs of living your life to the fullest. Your life to the fullest. And what does it take for you to be able to be happier than you've ever been before, healthier than you've ever been before, and finally start creating the extraordinary life that deep down every single one of us wants, but sadly most of us settle for so much less than we really want to have, be, and do, so much less than we're capable of becoming and creating and contributing to the world. And my mission in life is to inspire and empower people to stop settling and start creating everything that you've ever wanted. So at the conference, we're going to dive into that message, the ABCs of taking life head on. Today, I'm going to teach you, how do I put this? The CBAs of goal achievement, right? So we got the ABCs at the conference. Today are the CBAs of goal achievement. And I was listening to Darren Hardy the other day. I was just interviewed for Success Magazine, which is like a dream of mine. I was so excited to be talking to Darren about this. But after I interviewed for it, I was listening to one of his CD programs called Living Your Best Year. And in it, he talked about the one common trait amongst the most successful people in the world. He said the one common trait amongst the most successful people in the world that he's discovered, and he's interviewed, you name it, for Success Magazine. Darren's interviewed the who's who. There's, Oprah, Richard Branson, what's his name? Steve Jobs, right? So on and on. And he said the one trait is their ability to set and consistently achieve big goals, worthwhile goals. So what I'm going to teach you today is what I call the CBAs of goal achievement. This is my three-part formula to set and achieve any goal that you want in your life. This is, in my opinion, this is the formula on how to take yourself to the next level, so you can take your life to the next level. How do you achieve the goals that you might have put off? Maybe you even forgot about them. How do you start achieving the things that really matter to you so you can create that extraordinary life that you really want? And, Tim mentioned when he introduced me some of my goals that I've achieved, and for me, becoming a best-selling author was a goal, but I didn't know how to do it. You can ask my my English teachers throughout my whole schooling career, right? From junior high to high school and even college, my English teachers will tell you I was the least likely to ever write a book, let alone a best-selling book, right? So that was a huge goal for me, and then I achieved it with my first book and achieved it again with my second book, and I've got a bunch of other books coming out. The point is, not to brag, but just to show you that even though it was something that I really wasn't the most qualified person to do that. I had a lot of fear and a lot of insecurity around achieving those goals, yet following this 3-step process that I'm going to teach you, I achieved that goal. I had a goal of running a 52-mile ultra marathon, even though I had never run in my life, other than, PE class, right? Running like a mile where you have to run a mile. Other than that mile in PE class, I had never run intentionally in my life unless I was running from something, right? And then I set this goal to run a 52-mile ultra marathon. And 5 months later, it was the hardest day of my life, worst day of my life in a lot of ways. Best day, worst day, it's still a toss-up. But I achieved that goal. I finished 52 miles that day. And then, on and on these other things, like becoming a hip-hop recording artist, right? I didn't know how to create a rap song, but I figured it out. I did it. I achieved that goal. So my life, when I really look back at everything I've accomplished, it goes back to what Darren says. It's that trait, that single trait of the ability to set and consistently achieve big goals. So let's dive into the CBAs of goal achievement. The C stands for clarity. So if you're taking notes, I hope you're taking notes, because A, I talk really fast. You're gonna, if you're not taking some notes, you're gonna miss something. And B, as they say, I always butcher quotes. What is it? Something along the lines of the shortest pen is better than the longest memory, or something like that. Again, I butchered it. But point being, you should write it down, because you never know when you might hear something that could change everything for you. So the C stands for clarity, and there's what I call the 4 clarity components. And again, what I'm going to share with you today, I'm not going over any of this at the event. So just to be clear, I didn't want to give you something that you're going to get again in a few, in a month. You're getting, this is all, it's completely different. So these are the 4 clarity components. And here's the thing. If you want to create extraordinary results in your life, if you want to make extraordinary progress in your life, if you want to achieve extraordinary goals in your life, all of that is born from extraordinary clarity. In other words, extraordinary clarity is required to achieve extraordinary goals in your life. Yet most people maintain a mediocre level of clarity, and therefore they achieve a mediocre level of success. So here's the 4 clarity components. These are the 4 things that you want to have clarity on in writing. I'd encourage all of you, by the way, when this call's done, don't just dive back into your life, go watch TV. I would spend at least 15 minutes, 30 minutes taking your notes from the call, the webinar today, and putting them in practice, like implementing them, pulling out your schedule and going, okay, when am I going to do the things that Hal taught me today? So, because, just learning this stuff doesn't do anything for you if you don't implement it, right? If you don't take action on it. So the C is for clarity. Here's the 4 clarity components. You want these in writing. And by the way, you want these in writing not only today, but you want to revisit these every single day. Clarity isn't a one-time event. You've got to revisit and refresh and remind yourself of what clarity you're gaining. So the first clarity component is clarity on what you really want. Right? Pretty straightforward, not rocket science, but you've got to get clarity on what you really want. Specifically, precisely, what do you want? And here's the thing about the brain. The human brain is a brilliant organism. It's like a supercomputer, right? And whatever you put into the computer, right, that's what the computer goes to work on. So that's the power of having clarity on exactly what you want. And then not just getting clarity at one time and then never looking at what, writing it down once and then putting your notes away and not seeing them again. You've got to renew that clarity every single day and get clarity on what do you really want for your life. And I encourage you to do it in every single area of your life. What do you want for your finances? How much money do you really want to make? Not how much money do you currently make, or not how much money do you think you can make. How much money do you really want to make? Maybe it's because you want to be able to help other people. You know, I actually posted a quote on Facebook yesterday, I think, and I said, you know, unfortunately, the people that would do the most good with a large sum of money are typically the same people that have the biggest hang-ups about making large sums of money. Either because we view ourselves as greedy, or, you know, we feel a sense of guilt because there's other people in the world that don't have much, and we think, who are we to be wealthy or rich? Well, I really believe, and this is at the risk of offending some people, but I believe that we really have a responsibility to build as much wealth as we possibly can, so that we can not only support ourselves and our loved ones, but so that we can contribute to those that are in need, those that don't have the same opportunities that we have, those that are less fortunate, right? So, again, at the risk of offending somebody, I think that money is very important, not because so you can buy fancy cars, you know, right? If you wanted, no judgment if that's what you want to buy, but I think money's important because in our society, it's a reality that the more money you have, the more power you have to help other people, right? You look at, you know, Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. I mean, these people are donating millions and billions of dollars to those in need, right? So I don't mean to get on my soapbox on this, but first thing, clarity on what you really want, and in every area. So what do you want your ideal weight to be, or your health? What do you want your relationship, your marriage? What do you want to be as a parent? Every area of your life, your finances, your every component, your happiness. What do you want your life to be like? And maybe most importantly, what do you want your lifestyle to be like? Remember, whatever you put into the supercomputer that is your brain goes to work on it, starts to figure out the how. Once it knows what you want, it figures out the how to create it. And again, a lot of these goals that I've shared that I personally have been very fortunate to achieve, I didn't know how to achieve them when I set them. I had no idea, but I set them anyway. I said, this is what I want. I don't know how to write a book or publish it, but I want to. I don't know how to run a 52-mile ultra, you know, but I want to. I don't know how to become a millionaire, but I want to. And I'm not there yet, by the way. That's a goal I'm still working on, right? I don't know how to do all those things, but I want to. So I got clear and I put them in writing. And then your brain starts to go, how, if that were to happen, how would I make that happen? The second clarity component, after you figure out what you want, why do you want it? And you may have heard this said before, but the why is more important than the what. And if you don't have a strong why, it's not going to pull you through your fears and your doubts. You've got to have a why that is bigger than your excuses. You've got to have a why, a reason, a purpose to achieve the goal. The thing that you want, that's your goal, but why is it a goal? Why is it important? And so often we set goals that we think we should achieve, or maybe other people told us we should achieve them, and so that's why we set them, but that's not a compelling why. And so what ends up happening is we don't achieve it. We don't work towards it. We give up when it gets tough. We lose focus, etc. So what's your why? You've got to have a compelling why, a purpose, benefits to achieving what you want, that when you look at those benefits every day, when you look at your why, it allows you to overcome laziness or fear or doubt, because that why is so important. And I'll just share some of my whys. Some of my whys are being able to provide the lifestyle for my family, the freedom for all of us to be able to live stress-free, to be able to do the things that we want when we want. So those are some of my whys for some of my goals. The other thing is I want freedom. You know, I really think that if you're talking about money, for example, the thing money gives you is it really gives you freedom, right? If you have an abundance of financial abundance, you have the freedom to give money to those in need. You have the freedom to go on a vacation. You have the freedom to put your kids in college. You have so much freedom to kind of live life on your terms. And I'm saying money's required for that, but it definitely helps. The third clarity component, and this is the one that you don't hear very often. What's holding you back? What's holding you back? So you often hear, experts or gurus say, figure out what you want, figure out why you want it. Well, I think equally, if not the most important component, clarity component, what's holding you back? Because if you don't figure that out and be really brutally honest with yourself about where you're falling short, about what habits are holding you back, about what people in your life might be pulling you back, you need to get out of the way. You need to either get rid of them or minimize your time with them. You know, you probably can't get rid of them and you don't want to, but you might want to minimize how much time family's bringing you down and they're discouraging you and they're negative and they're complaining, etc. So you got to figure out what's preventing you from achieving what you really want. And sometimes you might want to word that question, what's prevented you in the past? So you can look at the past as an indicator of, okay, the past 12 months, these are the things that prevented me from achieving what I really wanted. And that way you can now plan by being sensitive and aware of what has been holding you back or what could hold you back in the beginning. Now you can plan for that. You can go, okay, since that could hold me back, how am I going to deal with that? How am I going to overcome that? What plan will I have in place? What strategy will I utilize to ensure that that thing that has held me back in the past, and if I'm not careful, could hold me back in the future, what am I going to do to ensure that that doesn't hold me back again? And then the final clarity component is what do you need to do on a daily basis to ensure that you achieve what you want? What do you need to do? And it might not always be daily. Maybe some things you're only working on 1 day a week or 3 days a week or every other day or whatever. But I think that for most things, especially if we're focusing on our single most important goal, if you haven't read the book The One Thing, highly recommend it. The premise of that book, it's by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, one of my 5 all-time favorite, and not just favorite, but one of the 5 most important books ever written, in my opinion. And the premise of that book is real simple. If you want to achieve extraordinary results in your life or your business, you've got to narrow down all of your goals and all of your to-dos to your one thing. What's the single most important goal for you? And I'll tell you what mine is. My one thing is to change 1 million lives, one miracle morning at a time. I'm committed to that until the day that I die. Now, I'm hoping it won't take that long. My goal is to do it in the next couple of years, but that's my one thing. And every single day, I do at least one thing to move me closer to my one thing. Some days I do 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things, but at least one thing on a daily basis. And sometimes that one thing, I don't know what it's going to be, and my one thing is figuring that out, right? So if you're going, well, I don't know what my one thing is, well, then your one thing is to figure out what your one thing is. And if you go, okay, I figured out what my one thing is, like my goal, but I don't know where to start, or what to do every day to get there. Well, now your one thing is figuring that out. Google it, by the way. There's no excuse anymore between Google and Amazon. It's available to you. The articles are free, right? One Google search. How do I blank? It's funny. I get people reach out to me sometimes and ask me questions, and I'll give them the answer, like on Facebook, or they send me an email. I give them the answer. I'm like, hey, here's my advice. However, I did a quick Google search, and there are 1.1 million articles on your question. So it's kind of giving a man while teaching the man to fish, right? It's like, here's my answer for you, but in the future, a Google search will give you thousands, if not millions, of answers. So just a bonus tip. So those are the 4 clarity components. You got to get clarity on what do you want. You got to get clarity on why do you want it? Why is it important? What's the purpose? What's the reason behind it that's going to drive you and inspire you to overcome the excuses, the fear, the doubt, and find a way no matter what. And if you're taking notes, no matter what should be your mantra in capital letters. Whatever you want for your life, if it's important to you, you commit. Either you do it or you don't, no matter what. Be committed. So what do you want? Why do you want it? What's holding you back from achieving it? Or what could hold you back if you're not careful? What do you need to be aware of? What do you need to plan for to overcome? And the 4th component, what do you need to do on a daily basis to ensure your success, ensure your achievement? And I'll give you an example. I set a goal in 2005. When the year started, I wanted to double my income from one year to the next. Now, I was in sales, so what that meant, and I had been in the same sales position for 5 years, it meant I had to double my best year ever. That was scary to me. Like I was, I had been one of their top sales reps. So it's like I had achieved at a decent level, a relatively high level for 5 years. And then I decided, you know what? I want to double it. I want to double my best year ever, double my income. And just so you know, I'll be specific with you. My best year ever, and I was 24 when I set the goal, I think. I had earned $50,000 in income. So it was part of the goal was kind of like, wow, I want to, have my first year where I earn $100,000, a 6-figure income. I know I can do it. I know that I have the potential, but I've never been disciplined for an entire year. I've never done that. Oh, all right. Disregard my fax machine. Hold on. Oh, I guess I can't turn it off. Okay. It'll go away soon. So I set that goal. Now, here's what I did. I asked myself why I wanted. Okay, so let's run through these real quick so you can see a real life example of how this worked in a big way. Number one, what do I want? I want to sell $200,000 of my product. Now, I made 50% commission, so it's easy to figure that out, right? I want to sell $200,000 of my product. Now, important because I could have had a lot of whys. I want to make $100,000. I want to win a Rolex. If you got to that level in our company, you got a Rolex. I could care less about my Rolex. In fact, I sold my Rolex for a computer. But anyway, so those could have been my reasons. But here's the thing. Those would never have compelled me. And they never compelled me in the past, and here's why. I didn't need to make $100,000. So in the past, when I had money as my goal, it never kept me committed. Because whenever I didn't feel like working, I would always talk myself out of it. Well, I don't really need to make that much money. I don't need to make that much money. I'm doing fine, right? And I did that over and over again. That's why I never fulfilled my potential. So I realized I've got to figure out like a real deep, powerful why. Why is this really important to me? And here's what I realized. My goal, my why, is to become the person that I need to be to create everything else I want for my life. Meaning, I need to become the person. I need to develop the self-discipline, the ability to stay committed, the ability to do what I need to do even if I don't feel like it, the consistency, right? The confidence, the belief in myself, all of those things. I realized that if I left my company without having really committed at the highest level, and this is true for you, whatever, if you don't set a goal that challenges you to the umpteenth degree, that scares you a little bit, but it's worthwhile, it's going to change your life in many ways, until you do that, you're not giving yourself an opportunity to become the person that you need to be to achieve everything else you want for your life. So that was my why. It was in writing. I looked at it every single day. Remember, clarity isn't a one-time event. You've got to, once you write all this out, you have to review it every single day and go, that's what I want. That's why I want it. And then what did I need to do? I needed to make 20 calls a day, 5 to 6 days a week. I figured out my sales averages. I need to make that many calls, 20 calls a day, 5 to 6 days a week. And if I do that, then that will keep, inevitably I'll reach my goal because the averages would work out. And then last but not least, wait, was that it? Oh, no, sorry. What could hold me back? Right, that was the third one. I skipped that one. What could hold me back? I looked at that, and I looked at all the, in the past, why had I not achieved my goals? One of them was I was working for money. I was working for money, and again, I only needed to make so much, so it never drove me beyond that. I'd make enough money, then I would take a week off. Then I would run out of money, and I would do it again. It was this negative cycle. So I looked at that, and I go, okay, I've always been inconsistent. If I make 20 calls a day, 5 to 6 days a week, no matter how much I do or don't sell, then with my averages, I will reach my goal. So that was my plan. And that year, I sold $205,000 of Cutco. I wrote my book, Taking Life Head On. Met wife, like it was an amazing, like everything just kind of fell into place that year. But I'm clear, it was because I was really clear on my one thing. What was my one thing? And I had all 4 of those clarity components down. Now, I know we're going to open it up for Q&A at the end, so if you have questions on this, please jot them down and feel free to ask. All right, we're going to dive into the B and into the A. The B stands for belief. So first, once you have clarity on what you want, why you want it, what could hold you back, and what you're committed to doing on a daily basis, you've got to develop and reinforce the belief in yourself, in your ability. You have to reinforce the belief every day of what you're capable of and believing in what you're committed to. And so how do you do it? Well, and we're going to go in depth on this component at the event at One Life Fully Lived, but it's affirmations. I believe that's the most effective way to condition your beliefs and your mindset to be in alignment with whatever you want to achieve. So what's an affirmation? It's essentially a written statement that defines or articulates what do you want, why do you want it. It's all of those clarity components, right? And then that you're committed to it. Now, I'm adding one other piece, which is you've got to reinforce the belief. And I'll share with you my favorite affirmation that is specifically a belief reinforcing affirmation. And this is in my affirmations. I read it every day. And if you want to write it down, I'll go slow. I am just as I butcher my own quotes too. I am just as worthy, deserving, and capable. I am just as worthy, deserving, and capable of achieving blank. So whatever it is for you, it's whatever you're trying to achieve. You are just as worthy, deserving, and capable of achieving blank as any other person on the planet. And then it goes a little further. And I am committed to earning that with my actions. I am committed to earning that today with my actions. So I'm just as worthy, deserving, and capable of achieving blank, and I'm committed to earning that today with my actions. Now, the more specific you can be, the better. So if you know what your action is based on your clarity components, like I am just as for me, if I go back to that year that I was telling you about where I doubled my best year ever, my affirmation that year would have said, I am just as worthy, deserving, and capable of selling $200,000 of Cutco this year as any other person on earth or as any other person in my company. And I will prove that, or I will earn that today by making 20 phone calls no matter what. So you see, you can get specific. The more specific you are, the better. The general affirmation is I'm committed to achieving, I'm just as worthy, deserving, and capable of achieving blank as any other person on the planet, and I will earn it today with my actions. But if you can be specific with your actions, it's that much better. So when you tell yourself an affirmation over and over and over and over and over again, especially if it's worded the way I just worded it. Now, if it's worded that let me just give you a little, and this is a preview of what I'll go in depth on at the event. But I believe affirmations, as they've been taught for as long as before I was born, before you were born, affirmations, I believe, were taught, they've been taught incorrectly or not as effectively as they should be. And you might have experienced this before. They have a bad rap for this. In fact, affirmations have been taught to be written as I am statements, right? Where you write them as if you already are the thing or you've achieved the thing that you want to achieve. So you say, I am a millionaire, or I weigh 120 pounds, or I have a mansion, right? Whatever your desired result is, you state it in the present moment. That's how it's been taught. I believe that's completely, I won't say completely, I'm sure there's some merit to it, but here's the deal. You're lying to yourself. If you say, I am a millionaire, and you're not a millionaire, and you're a smart person, so you know you're not a millionaire, then what ends up happening is your subconscious mind calls BS on you. It's like, you're not a millionaire, right? You read your affirmation, you're like, I weigh 120 pounds. And your subconscious goes, no, you don't. You're lying. Look in the mirror. No, you don't, right? So the way that you want to word your affirmations, and again, I'll teach you the formula, we'll go in depth at the event, but the general idea is not I am a blank, or I have a blank, or I weigh blank. It's I am committed to doing blank so that I can achieve blank. That's an affirmation. So now you're programming your subconscious not to believe in a fantasy that's not true yet, but you're telling yourself it is. You're lying to yourself. Your affirmation is now programming your subconscious to commit to the thing that you need to do to achieve the thing that you want to achieve. And now you're reinforcing the belief that it's possible because you're reinforcing that, hey, I'm committed to doing what's necessary to achieve that. And you reinforce that you're committed, Now your belief goes up because you go, wow, if I'm committed to doing the thing that's necessary to achieving the result, then I'm going to achieve it. It's pretty much inevitable. Another great way to get belief is to borrow belief from other people. You know, I read books all the time. I'd imagine that you probably do too. I have mentors, and sometimes I'll share with you a quote that I heard once. I wish I could credit it. I don't know who said this, but it's a powerful quote. Sometimes we have to believe in the belief that someone else has in us until our belief catches up. I'll say that again. Sometimes we have to believe in the belief that others have in us until our belief catches up. And I think back to when I started in sales. I was 19 years old. I didn't know anything about sales. I had never been in sales in my life. And my mentor, Jesse Levine, one of my closest friends, I was 19 at the time. I think he was only 23, but he was like the top manager in the whole company. He's just amazing. He believed in me. I didn't really believe in myself. I had a lot of self-doubt, but he believed in me, or at least he convinced me that he did. I don't know. But the bottom line is, you know, I broke these records early in my career. My first 10 days, I broke this all-time company record. Not because I really believed in myself, but I borrowed the belief that Jesse had in me. And then it probably took probably a few years, you know, at least a few months, probably a few years before my belief started to catch up. And I still, to this day, I deal with self-doubt every day. All the time I have to overcome. My affirmations help me. Every day I read them and I'm reminded of what I'm capable of and who I'm capable of being, not who I was in the past. Because see, where you are in your life right now is a result of who you were. I'll say that again. Where you are in your life right now is a result of who you were. But where you go, where you end up, depends on who you choose to be. So we've got to get over that. I call it rear view mirror syndrome in the Miracle Morning book, right? I have a whole section on rear view mirror syndrome, how we see ourselves as we've been in the past and think that's who we are. But nothing could be further from the truth. Your past doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't define you, right? Your future's, no matter how spotty your past is, your future's spotless, right? It exists as pure possibility. You really can have, be, and do anything that you commit to, right? You're just as deserving, just as worthy, and just as capable as any other person on the planet. And the A, is for accountability. Accountability. Now, the A could be for action. And I think most, you know, experts or gurus, they would teach you action, action, action. You got to take action. Yes, you do. And by the way, technically this should probably be action and accountability if we want to really, you know, have semantics here at play. Action and accountability. But here's the point. Accountability, I believe, is the single most important factor in taking yourself from where you are right now in your life to where you want to be, closing that gap. Why do I believe that? Well, wherever you are in your life right now, right, that is based on who you've been in the past. And typically, whatever standards you hold true for yourself, they tend to remain. Now, yes, you can raise your standards, but the point is this. By you employing a system for accountability, having someone else hold you accountable, what that means is you make commitments based on your highest goals and ideals. You make them public, whether it's to one other person or it's to your community. I do it all the time. You know, like when I wanted to run my ultramarathon, I announced it on Facebook. I told people, I set up a fundraising page to raise money for this charity, all of these things. And now I was accountable. I was committed. I couldn't not do it because I mean, you know, I made it public. I now had accountability. Accountability, here's the point. Accountability will hold you to higher standards than you'll hold yourself to. That's worth writing down. Write that one down. The point of accountability is to have someone, or in some cases something, hold you to higher standards than you'll hold yourself to. That's the point. I consider myself a pretty accountable person, but I'll give you a great example on how important this is. So the Miracle Morning, this was one of my goals. Writing this book was on my goal list for, I think, 4 years before I finally wrote it. 4 years it was on my goal list. Might have been 3, but I think it was 3 or 4. And every year, it was like one of my top goals, and every year I failed. Year after year after year, I failed to write it. I let myself down. And then one day I had an epiphany. Now, I'm a coach, right? So I do success coaching, sales coaching, life coaching. So I know how important accountability is, but it's so often like, we can give other people advice, but we can't take our own advice. So I have this blind spot. And then one day it hit me. Why am I not writing the Miracle Morning? Why is this book not coming to fruition? And it hit me. I don't have any accountability. I don't have anyone holding me accountable to write it. Duh. And literally that day, I hired a writing coach, specifically not to really coach me on how to write, but just to make sure that we had a call every week, once a week. It was like a 15-minute call, and all it was I leveraged my integrity. I gave my word to my coach that I would write every single morning, and that I would write for an hour a morning, and how many pages I would write, and this and that. And guess what? Every day that I didn't feel like writing, every day that I didn't feel like writing, what did I have that pulled me to write? Accountability. It's almost like the angel and the devil on your shoulder, right? We're like the devil, it's like, I don't feel like writing, but then the angel is your accountability. It's your coach. It's your friend. It's whoever that you gave your word to, right? You gave your word. You leverage your integrity. And it reminds you, remember, I would look at this and go, I don't want to write. And then I'd look over here and be like, oh yeah, I gave my word that I would write. I have to write. There's no other option. And I would open my computer and I'd start writing. Accountability. Now, again, I mentioned I consider myself a pretty accountable person. So I was still really productive, right? I'm doing a zillion things, and I'm growing my business, and I'm growing my coaching, and my speaking career is taking off. All those things are happening. But this wasn't happening because I didn't have accountability. So this was the thing that got pushed to the back burner, even though it was arguably the most important thing. And I mean, I know now, tens of thousands of people around the world do the Miracle Morning every day, and they swear by it. And it has changed not only my life, but more lives than anything else I've ever done. And if I wouldn't have implemented accountability, invited it into my life, actually paid someone to hold me accountable, I don't know if that book would have ever gotten written. And here's how powerful accountability is, by the way. It was on my list for 4 years, right? I mentioned that. 4 years it didn't get written. I hired an accountability coach. 4 months later, it was done. And it was for sale on Amazon.com, and it became a #1 national bestseller. 4 months. So accountability got done in 4 months. What me trying to do it on my own didn't get done in 4 years. Now, am I saying that you can't achieve a goal without accountability? No. Here's what I'm saying. If you were to go back over the last 6 to 12 months of your life and look at the things that you wish you would have done, but you didn't do, that's what you need accountability for. Like I said, I was still achieving many of my goals, but the one that I really wanted that I wasn't achieving, I needed accountability for. I hired a coach, and the results speak for themselves. So now, you don't have to hire a coach. I'm not here saying you have to hire someone. You can partner with an accountability partner. Find someone that is like-minded, and at the One Life Fully Lived event, you're going to meet hundreds of like-minded individuals to partner with. Exchange phone numbers. You'll go home, and you'll have someone that went through the One Life Fully Lived experience. They're going to be on fire just like you will. Their mind's going to be in the same place. Their mindset is you're going to be able to reference the ideas and the lessons and the things that you learned at the event, right? So I'm not telling you don't wait till the event to find an accountability partner. Start now. But my accountability partner and I, we meet once a week. Now, it could be over the phone or in person, and we simply share what's going well right now, what are our wins, what are our losses or our areas of improvement, and what's the most important thing that we need to get done. So we meet for 2 to 3 hours. We each spend 30 minutes kind of coaching each other. So 30 minutes, I say, hey, Peter, what's your #1 goal right now? What do you need to be working on? Okay, what do you need to do to achieve that? Okay, what's going well for you? What's not going well? And then what are you committed to doing today to achieve that. And what we do is we take the accountability and we immediately put it into action. We actually, literally, after we exchange that knowledge, that coaching, we open our computers and we just go to work for an hour. We immediately take action on the one thing that we haven't been taking action on that we really need to. So those are the CBAs of goal achievement. And if you can just focus on those, study on those, and revisit those every day. Remember, it's not a one-time event where you write this out and you go, I'm done. I'll see you at the end of the year. No, you've got to condition your mind around these clarity components. You've got to reinforce the belief every day, and you've got to have accountability in place so you take action every single day to achieve your highest goals and your highest dreams. And if you follow this formula, the C, the B, and the A, I mean, literally, there is nothing that you can't have, be, do, and create for your life. So, Tim, if you want to open up for Q&A, I would love to take some questions.
Hey, Hal, that's awesome stuff, man. I love it. Clarify, belief, and accountability. And as anyone who's been paying attention to One Life for a while, these are all right up the alley of our tenets, and I really love this, Hal. I wrote down some incredible quotes we'll be putting on the website along with the posting of your webinar. And anybody who's listening to this, if you'd like your friends to hear it afterwards, you can send them. We'll be sending you the link to it, and you can forward it on to them, or they can get it off our onelifefullylived.org website. So first question we had, Hal, was what drove you instead of money?
Again, it was it. It was becoming the person that I needed to be to create the life that I really want. And I think that is the ultimate purpose for anything that we do, right? I mean, and I could take different perspectives. Like, the ultimate purpose is for us to set the example for other people, right? I think that's an important component. If you think about that, by the way, how we live our lives gives other people around us permission to do the same thing, to live the same way. And that can be good or bad. If you're lazy, if you make excuses, if you accept mediocrity, if you eat unhealthy food, you are unconsciously giving everyone around you that witnesses your behavior and your lifestyle permission to do the same thing. But when you don't settle for anything less than your best, when you really are constantly striving to grow and improve, you influence everybody around you. I believe that we have a great responsibility to fulfill our potential because of that fact. Because we owe it not to ourselves, yes, to ourselves, but we owe it not only to ourselves, but to every person whose lives our life will ever touch. We owe it to them to be as healthy and happy and successful and really live our life to the fullest. We owe it to them, because otherwise, if we don't do that, we're hurting their chances of living their life to the fullest. So what drives me is becoming the person that I need to be, always expanding my capacity. Like, the reason that I did that ultra marathon, I hated running. I still hate running. I don't use the word hate very often. Like, I don't like running. I despise it. That's why. So you think, well, why would, if you despised or hated running, why would you run a 52-mile ultramarathon? Because of who it would force me to become. I knew that overcoming something that I really didn't like to do and having to train for 6 months and expand my physical, mental, and emotional capacity beyond what I thought was even possible, I knew that would serve me for the rest of my life. In the same way, I knew if I doubled my best year of sales ever and I doubled my income, that the person I would become through that commitment, that process, would serve me for the rest of my life. And I'll say this, kind of a bonus lesson here. The purpose of a goal, the most important purpose of a goal is not to hit the goal. Now you think, that's weird. Why else would you set a goal? Because of who you become in your unwavering commitment to achieve that goal. If I would have only ran 48 miles and I wouldn't have quite finished the marathon, which, trust me, I wanted to give up many, many, many times. If I would have only, sold 182,000 instead of the $200,000 goal, yes, I would have fallen short of the goal, but who I became through the process would have still been like 95% the same. I still would have had to develop the qualities that would stay with me for the rest of my life, because the goal itself is usually pretty short-lived. You spend the money, the recognition, the feeling goes away, but only the growth lasts forever. Who you become lasts for the rest of your life. So that was my why. My why, what drove me beyond the money, it's always to who am I becoming every day? Who am I becoming? When I'm faced with a choice to either do the right thing or do the easy thing, I ask myself, who will doing the easy thing make me become? The alarm goes off in the morning. I go, man, I really want to hit the snooze button. I go, wait a minute. Do I really want to become the type of person that doesn't have the discipline to get out of bed in the morning, let alone achieve everything I want for my life? Heck no. And then I turn my alarm off and I get out of bed. It's always about who are you becoming. That's so much more important than what you're doing. And yet, ironically, it's what you're doing that determines who you're becoming. But to me, that's the ultimate driving force behind achieving any goal.
Hal, that was so powerful. That was worth the price of admission right there, buddy.
Thanks.
Okay, this comes from a One Life long-term helper and mentor, Mr. Brian Rocha, who you'll be meeting at the One Life conference and also in Tahoe. Hal, do you use any computer or phone apps to help keep yourself accountable?
Yes, where's my phone? So I don't know if I do for accountability as much, but I do. But I use some. There's some great apps for productivity. My favorite app is 5-Minute Journal. 5-Minute Journal is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It takes you 5 minutes. You do a morning entry and an evening entry. But I've literally asked myself, and it asks you questions. So it's the same every day. It's what are the 3 things you're grateful for? So you start the day focused on gratitude, which science has proven. If you want to be happy, you got to focus on what you're grateful for consciously. Second thing is, what do you need to do to make today great? And there's room for 3 components. And anyway, I won't go into more detail. Check it out. And if you go to 5-Minute Journal, F-I-V-E, 5minutejournal.com, they actually have a hardcover as well. So I have both. I have the app for when I'm traveling, and then my wife and I both have hardcover copies, so we can write in it together in the evening. So yeah, that's my favorite app. Beyond that, I don't even know. There's a cool one called G-Tasks, but to be honest with you, I don't use it as often. I still like paper. I use my paper schedule. Yeah, I definitely check out 5-Minute Journal. Cool, really, really great app.
Okay, 2 more quick questions, and I know we're running short on time.
Sure, that's just because I'm long-winded. Nobody else's mentors?
Fault. Yeah, but it's great stuff, and I anybody listen to this, you and I share a lot. We just have so much passion and drive that it just takes a bit to get it out.
Awesome.
Who are your mentors today?
So my mentors are they're I'm looking at the books on my shelf, and that's often who my mentors are. Now I've got, how do I answer this question? So I have a lot of mentors, I guess you'd say. So I read a lot of books and I listen to a lot of audios. And that's one thing I tell people that go, well, I don't know where to find a mentor. I go buy an author's audiobook, especially if it's read by the author, but even if it's not, and they're mentoring you. In fact, I would go as far as to say that listening to an audio from a successful person, an author or whatever, is more beneficial in some ways than having them as your mentor. And here's why. If you listen to an audiobook, the amount of time it would take them to teach you all of that in an audiobook is probably like, let's say you have, you get to mentor with them like 30 minutes, once a month or whatever. It would take like 2 years for them to teach you all the stuff that you could listen to nonstop by listening to their audiobook. So I believe that audiobooks and even just regular books is one of the best ways to bring a mentor into your life, someone that's an expert in anything that you want to get better at. Also, my closest friends, I'm a big believer in Jim Rohn's philosophy that we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And it's spookily true. It's eerily true. If you add up your weight and you add up the weight of your 5 closest friends or people you spend the most time with, your family members, you go, whoa, I'm the average weight of my 5 closest friends and family. You add up the income of your 5 closest friends and family, you're like, weird. I'm right in that zone. If I'm right, my average of their 5, of my 5 closest friends and family, that's how much money I make, right? And it makes sense. If you hang out with 5 people that are alcoholics, you're going to be the 6th alcoholic, right? If you hang out with 5 people that are broke, you're going to be the sixth person that's broke. I mean, it just makes sense. So for me, my friends are my mentors. I surround myself, and I'm always actively seeking out new mentors. And the way that I do it is I reach out to people that I admire, and I ask myself, how can I add value to their life? And let me clarify. How can I selflessly add value to their life? I really try to make sure that my intentions are always very pure, that I don't go, how can I add value to their life so I can get them to want to help me and do things for me? I don't approach it from that. Now, in the back of my mind, might I be going, yes, I want to connect with this person because I think there's synergy and that, they can help me and I can help them? Absolutely. But I make sure to try to keep my intentions pure and go, okay, even if they don't ever help me at all, that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to serve them because I value them. I appreciate them. And I hope that I add enough value that they see it mutually beneficial for us to become friends or for us to connect or for them to mentor me or whatever. So, yeah, I have lots of mentors. I also hire coaches. I've got how many coaches? 2 or 3 coaches right now. I'm also in mastermind groups. In fact, GoBundance. Tim invited me to GoBundance. I just signed up for that. So I'm in 4 mastermind groups. I have lots of, my friends are mentors. I read books. So yeah, that's a long answer to your question. But yeah, that to me, my mentors are everywhere and I'm always seeking out new ones. Thank you for the great question.
You got it. One last question, and I'd be
Yes.
amiss if I didn't ask you the
Please.
inevitable one life fully lived question, Hal Elrod.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, baby.
I don't even think about that myself as often as I should. I'm so focused. I'm like kind of narrow focused. Like, all right, what am I doing this year? But in 5 years, I see myself. My goal is to be making $1 million a year, and to donating half to charity. That's my ultimate goal. I believe that, one day I want to write a book that is the cover would be just a big one. It would be 1 and then a /1. I don't know if I'm doing that backwards, but 1/1. And it'd be the idea that you live your life equally for yourself as you do for others. That's kind of I don't know, is the tagline, something like that. But that's my philosophy. And so I think that imagine if, and I guess it's almost is that a socialist strategy or way of living, right? That we, give away half of our wealth. But I just think if we all did that, if we all focused on achieving it at an extraordinarily high level, and we gave away as much as we kept. That's kind of my philosophy. And I don't live it yet. And it's funny, I actually feel guilty sometimes because I go, I should take my current wealth and I should lower my expenses and live below my means. So I'm not there yet. I'm getting close. But anyway, so financially earning $1 million a year and growing that and donating half to charity, and then also the Miracle Morning. Millions of people around the world living the Miracle Morning and transforming their lives with the Miracle Morning. That's the goal. And right now we have 3 new books in the series: the Miracle Morning for real estate agents, the Miracle Morning for network marketers, and the Miracle Morning for salespeople. Those are the next 3 titles. And Chicken Soup for the Soul, I think, has sold 500 million books, if I remember correctly. And so that's what we're after, is chasing Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I don't care about beating them or whatever, but I figure that's a high standard to shoot for. Why not create the next Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, a book series that impacts even more people and does it at a deeper, more profound, and really behavior-altering way rather than just making people feel good while they read the book. That's kind of the goal, is how do we change behavior so people really, really see changes in their lives. So that's the goal. And then my family, I want to be working the 4-hour work week. That's what I really want, is where I'm working 4 hours a week. I don't know if I'll ever do that because I love my work. But the point is, I want my life to be focused around my family first. So if anything, right now I work 5 days a week and I take 2 days off. I want it to be switched around where 5 years from now I'm working 2 days a week and taking 5 days to spend with my family.
That's awesome, Hal. Hey, Hal, you've done an incredible job on this webinar. We can't wait to see you at the 4th Annual One Life Fully Lived Conference in Reno, Nevada on November 8th and 9th. If you liked what you heard here, please join our One Life community on Facebook. That's the #1 Life community on Facebook, and get on our mailing list at onelifefullylived.org. Hal, thank you very much one more time. And
my pleasure, Tim. Thanks for having me, and thanks everybody for tuning in.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next month at the conference. Later, Hal.
See ya.
Bye bye.